Alright, so welcome to this advanced session on SwarShala. In this session we'll be explaining about the structure of SwarShala, the items, what we refer as items, which are in fact the building blocks that are used to create intricate things in SwarShala. So there are two types of items. There are single stroke items and there are sequences. I'm going to show you here a simple diagram that explains the structure of these items. So as you can see above here, all these are rhythmic items, and you can see here are strokes like da, te, ta, ke. These are simple strokes that are just linked with sounds. So for example, da is linked with na and ge. This is just by default this simplified diagram. We'll see later on that it's a bit more complex than that, but for the moment that should be okay. Then we have sequences, which are collections of cells, each cell having a duration and being linked with a rhythmic item. The duration is a fraction of 1, so when you sum up all the duration of each cell, you should end up with a total of 1. In this case, a very simple example is the basic stroke tirekite, which is a 4 cells sequence that has each cell of a quarter of the duration with ti, te, ki and te. So that would be our tirekite. Then this simple sequence can be reused, and that's the power of SwarShala, that you can reuse any item, be it a stroke or be it a sequence, and that can be reused in more complex sequences. So for example, the sequence above, we have da tirekite, taka tirekite. In here we can have strokes. On the first cell, for example, you would have a da, and then on the second cell you can insert the complete tirekite, then ta, ke, and then another time tirekite. And then you have even more complex sequences like da tirekite, taka tirekite, da tirekite, taka tirekite, da tirekite, tak. And that would be like a 16-beat sequence, and in that you would insert this whole item here twice, then insert other strokes and sequences to complete this longer pattern. Alright, so that's the theory. Now we're going to see how we can create that in SwarShala. So first of all, I'll come here, I'll create a new folder. I'll name it as training. Then I'll create another subfolder to that. Name it structure. Okay. And then we're going to create the first sequence called da tirekite, tak tirekite. If you remember, it was this one. So that's like a 6-beat sequence. So we're going to create it through here, components, insert sequence. Ta tirekite, tak. Then we set it to 6 beats and we wrap at 3. We can leave other items like that. So if we look back at the structure, we can see that the smallest unit is a 1/12 of a beat. So I think the easiest way is to merge all the cells. Then we can split them in 12. So that will be easier for our calculations. So we have a first da, which lasts a 1/6 of a beat. So of the sequence. So we merge the first two cells, and then we can either drag or simply just type da. And then we can add our tirikite, which lasts a third of the sequence. So a third would be all this duration here. And then you can just find the tirikite in our list and drag it there. Okay. And then we have takke and tirikite. So while we are at it, we can drag another tirikite here, and here we can maybe put this tak and ke. Alright, now we have our new item, just here, you can see it here. We can try to play it in a loop. We can increase a bit the tempo. Okay, we get the picture. Now we're going to create the higher structure, which is here. It's a small rela. So before we arrive there, what we can just see here is that if we pass over the cells, we have the tooltip, and the tooltip shows us that in fact this sequence on the first item in the tooltip shows us from where it comes, and in this case it's a tirikite. So if we double click on it to edit it, we can see it's a tirikite here. Alright, so now we will create the rela itself. As we can see here, in fact it's a 16 beats rela, so we'll go here, we'll insert a new sequence, we'll call it rela /1. We make it 16 beats and we wrap at 8. Okay, here we have a structure. Again, the same little trick that we see, the smallest fraction is 32nd. So we select all cells, we merge, and then we split them into 32. There you go. So the first item is our da tirikite tak tirikite, which takes 3/8. Now my maths are not that good, but I think that would be 12 cells here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 here. Yeah, that makes sense. It's 6 beats. So in here we can just drag this item here. Then we select the next 6 beats, which goes out to here, and same thing, we would drag the item there. And then the last 16th would be like on 16th of a beat, 16th of the cell, we would get a da, so that would come here. So here we have different choices, either we can merge and type da, or we can just drag the da from here. And then the last item, 1/8, would be our tirikite. So that would be this much. Here again we can either drag, or even we could just type tirikite, and that's it, knowing that the structure is kept here. And the last item is tak. So same, because the easiest thing is just tak, k, and that's it. There we go. So if you have a rela, it's here. You can just increase a bit the tempo. And we don't need to stop here. We could actually go ahead further and create like a complete solo and reuse this rela in that solo. So we have shown here with this small example how you can reuse a sequence within another sequence. But SwarShala is even more powerful than that. If we go back, for example, to the embedded sequence, we can play it again. Let's say we want to change one of the strokes, like for example, instead of tak, we put ta, which translates actually into a na. So here we play it again. We get a different feel, but what is very interesting is that we come back to our rela here, and that has also changed. Further to that, let's say for example we want to put some more emphasis on specific strokes in this rela. For example, we can go here in cells, select, and we select all cells at beat. And then we can view the properties, which shows the cells properties, and for any stroke, let's say we'll add emphasis. Okay, so here for example, if we see the tooltip, we see that on each stroke you have a E16 on all the strokes that fall on the beat. Not on this one yes, not on this one, etc. So this is changed within the rela, but our initial sequence, we wouldn't want to do that, so this is perfectly the same. If we want to reset the settings according to the embedded sequence, we can come here and do a reset, in which case we see that all our specific settings have disappeared. So I hope this short tutorial has given you a better understanding of the object-oriented structure of SwarShala, of SwarShala's items, how they can be embedded one into the other. We'll be discussing other interesting aspects of SwarShala, what you can do with it in other sessions, but feel free to come back to us if you have any questions. In the meantime, I take your leave, and thanks for following us.